Alright, this is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, actually, I've been waiting for quite a while myself, and I was actually quite surprised to actually get this item in the mail the other day. And no, this is not a food processor, it's not a blender, it's something totally different. There's no other appliance like this one actually on the earth. While it does resemble kind of like a food processor, it's even more than that. What this item is called, actually, it's called the Nutramilk nut processing machine. And the cool thing about this machine is actually how it came to be. The owner of the company that produces the Nutramilk actually was sitting in a coffee shop, actually drinking his coffee, and you know, he doesn't eat dairy or have dairy products for whatever reason, right? Maybe he's on a plant-based diet, or maybe he's allergic to dairy like many of you guys may be. But he thought to himself, you know, how could my favorite coffee shop have like fresh nut milks literally on tap to add to the coffee? So maybe you could make coffee that much healthier instead of including things like dairy products that may not be so healthy for you. And so he came up with actually the Nutramilk. You know, the design started with in 2014, and they went through a lot of testing and revisions until now, this year, 2017. It was just released. You've probably seen this video in 2018. This unit was released very late in 2017. And so, you know, they went through many years and a process of revisions and improving this machine to make it what it is today. And the cool thing is, you know, if you guys own a coffee shop, a restaurant, a cafe, or a juice bar, this machine is built to commercial specifications, right? It is NSF approved. It also has commercial UL electrical certification. So this could be totally used in a cafe, a restaurant, or wherever, you know. So it is built to heavy-duty standards, and they're using really clean materials such as the BPA-free Triton copolymer on there. So there's no BPA in this entire unit. So, you know, I know some of you guys may be shocked at the price because it's coming in actually a little more expensive than the original target price. But, you know, after getting it and seeing it and actually reading a lot about it, reading through the full color recipe book that is included with the machine, if you buy from Discount Juicers, it's actually quite impressive and could do a lot. Not to mention the fact that I know a lot of you guys are now on a plant-based diet, whether that's vegan, vegetarian, raw food diet, or whether you're on a paleo diet. You know, you want to incorporate the healthy nuts into your diet. You know, there's research studies out there that, you know, people that eat nuts versus people that don't eat nuts will actually live longer, right? Nuts actually help pull fat out of you. So, you know, people think, oh, there's fat in nuts, it's going to make you fat. Well, some of the fat in the nuts actually help pull, you know, some of the fat off your body and replace it with the good healthy fats. I know some people out there are allergic to things like dairy and even soy milks, right? And or even gluten, right? So you could make your own gluten-free, dairy-free nut milks with this machine, because simply when you own the machine, you can make anything you want in the machine. You could make all kinds of different recipes that literally money cannot buy. You could make a pineapple almond milk if you wanted to, right? You could make oat milk, you could make actually rice milk, you could make adzuki bean milk, and any kind of nut milk, whether that's sesame seeds, cashews, hazelnuts, almonds, walnuts, pecans, pine nuts, you know, whatever your heart desires, this machine can do it. And another thing, you know, that I want to talk about real quick is, you know, you might be addicted to buying these nut milks in the store, you know, whether that's in this case it's a coconut milk, or, you know, a chufa nut milk or almond milk in the store. And when's the last time you actually picked up one of these packages and read the ingredients? This one actually happens to be fairly clean, but I know a lot of you guys are buying a lot of nut milks and they have lots of additives in there. I mean, let's look at it. Ingredients in this one actually is water, so that's the first ingredient. Hey, water is super cheap, right? Use some filtered water out of your tap, or, you know, especially if you have a nut milk maker yourself, you could add any liquid you want. You know, I personally like to use coconut water when I make my nut milks to, you know, give myself that much more electrolytes in the nut milk. Also make it actually quite tastier than just the standard water. This one has the coconut water in there, so that's cool. It actually has sugar, that's a third ingredient. It has coconut cream, emulsifier, coconut flavor. It's not even real coconut, it's coconut flavor. That's like an artificial flavor. sodium bicarbonate, salt, and stabilizer. Many other nut milks also may have preservatives and other things that you probably don't want to be eating or including in your diet. I mean, and manufacturers do this so that they have a shelf-stable product. In addition, all the nut milks out there have been pasteurized or heat pasteurized to make it safe so that it can stay stable in the shelf. You know, and there's people that say, you know, when you pasteurize things, you lose nutrients, right? It's also, on one level, good to pasteurize things because also you kill all the bacteria and the manufacturers of products don't want to get sued. But in any case, you know, some nut milks could cost like $4 just for like a liter, which is quite expensive. So, you know, when you make your own and you're using, you know, some nice filtered water, you know, it's only going to cost you the cost of the nuts. And actually the cashews are some of the cheapest nuts out there, maybe running between $4 to $6 a pound. So you're going to save a lot of money and also be able to add the flavorings and other ingredients when you make your nut milks that you want, not that is dictated to you. So I guess with that, I guess the next thing I'd like to do is actually go over the parts of this unit. So this unit is cool. It's unlike any other machine I've ever seen. It's totally unique and different. So on the top here, there's like a little arm that kind of like lifts up out of the way if you want to remove this unit. And then you can take off this whole bowl assembly that kind of locks in, kind of like a food processor. And so this is the main bowl unit here, and this is the main motor body. Now, I want to talk about the motor body here. It's actually nice and heavy. This has a 500-watt motor inside of it, and it's about 3/4 of a horsepower. In addition, they have really nice splines on here. And there's actually sensors in this unit so that if the bowl is not assembled properly, it will not turn on. So if your machine's not turning on, it has a little error, you want to make sure it's assembled properly. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then, yeah, it just has a 3-prong extension cord, about 6 feet long, and just a really easy-to-use control panel. Now, the heart of the machine is the motor, but this is the part that makes it all happen. So I like this. I could tap on it and you hear it's not a high pitch. That means this is the Triton material, BPA free. This is the lid on the top here, and on the top there's some magnets. It's these magnets that actually line up and hit a little sensor up here, and the machine will only come on if it is actually assembled properly. Next you have actually what they call the wiping blade, and this is essential for this machine to work. This allows this machine, besides making the nut milks, and it makes it in a totally different way than any other nut milk process I've seen. This also allows you to make nut butters, processed nuts, as well as process other ingredients. You know, basically use this unit as a food processor. So you could make things like dips and spreads and all sorts of other cool creations. So yeah, this guy right here, this is the wiping blade. Next, what we have here is the screen. So actually, this is a clear, once again, BPA free, and in this clear hollow tube here, literally, there's basically 2 screens. So on one side, there's a screen, and the other side, it's a screen. And this is actually a laser-etched piece of stainless steel with actually nice small holes. This is like, I think, 100 mesh size holes. So these are really fine holes, so this will only let the nut milk through without all these big chunks of particulate in your nut milks. And then next we have the cutting blade. So this cutting blade is sharp, so you do want to be careful. It's actually quite sharp. It's actually serrated, unlike other cutting blades I've seen on some food processors. It's actually like sawtooth sharp. So handle with care. And then finally we have the main bowl right here. And once again, this is a BPA free. And then inside here, oh, in the bowl, it has a capacity of 2 liters, which is approximately 67 ounces for those of us Yanks. And then over here is basically just the spline, the drive spline that actually runs the blade assembly. The blade spline is actually non-removable. On the bottom is actually a nice metal coupling that will actually go into the motor base. Feels like a nice heavy-duty bearing on the inside right there. And then finally you have the dispensing spigot. Now this spigot, basically you could just pull it out for easy cleaning, and this also will disassemble. This does come with 1 spigot. It actually clips in. You know, I think a nice touch for the manufacturers, they should include actually an extra spigot, and in addition to an extra spigot, it'd be nice, in my opinion, to actually just have a blank, so you could actually fill this spot with a blank. So if you do want to use this as a food processor, you know, you'll never have any liquid come out, or you'll never actually have to clean this unit out. So now I'm going to show you guys actually how to assemble the unit. It is really simple, real easy. The first thing is you're going to go ahead and take your bowl, and this bowl just basically sits on top of the unit, and then you basically slide it into the front, so the spout is headed out the front, and you're going to hear a little click. Clicks into place. Real simple, real easy. Next, you're going to go ahead and take your straining basket or the straining cone with the stainless steel screen in there. And you're going to take a look at this little indentation on the bottom. Let me see if you can see that. It's just kind of little indentation. This goes towards the back. So you're going to put it towards the back. And when you do, it's going to drop all the way down. Now, if you don't put it in right, it's actually going to sit up a little bit too high. So you can watch that carefully. It just drops into place. Next, you're going to want to put in your blade. So I always like to handle this blade from the top, not the blades you may cut yourself. And that just basically drops right in there. Next, you take your wiping blade, and then the wiping blade actually just drops right in there as well. And the wiping blade will actually sit on top of that strainer cone. And finally, you're going to go ahead and take your top. On the top, there's a little arrow and a lock. So you want to take that arrow and the lock and actually put it between the arrow that's on the handle and the back post of the motor. And you're just going to set it on there, and then you're going to slide this forward so that the lock arrow and the arrow on the top of the handle slide into place, and you'll hear it click. And then finally, the last step is you're going to go ahead and take this little arm here that moves up and down. You're going to move it down. It's going to slide into place, and sometimes you may have to actually move your wiping blade a little bit so that it actually goes in, and then it's going to click into place. Now, it's very important when you're going to move this arm to disassemble. There's a little button here on the top that you actually want to press and then lift up. There's a little clip here that actually clips on the top. This is very important because if you just were to lift this up, it'll separate, but the problem is there's a little latch here, and this latch will have excessive force on it, and then it may cause it to break over time. So I don't want any breakage issues for you guys. So make sure you press the little button here. It's a little bit secret, and lift it up and out of the way so you can disassemble and then clean your Nutramilk. So we're going to just go ahead and put that down. Actually, we're all assembled and ready to go. Now I want to explain to you guys actually some of the things that actually come with your Nutramilk. So some of the things you're going to get with the Nutramilk are, number one, you're going to get an instruction manual. And this is just basically a black and white instruction manual. It's going to basically tell you how to use the machine, tell you some basic information on how to produce, nut milks and the nut butters, as well as proper usage. You're also going to get a little quick start guide, especially if you're a guy. I know you don't like to read instruction books, but hopefully you read the quick start guide. It's very imperative so that you know how to use your machine, and talks also about troubleshooting and whatnot. The other things I'm not showing you guys today are two things. Number one, if you purchase it from discountjuicers.com, you will also get a 300-page full color recipe book that has about 200 different recipes, including nut milks, nut butters, smoothies, acai bowls or fruit bowls, dips and spreads, and even like coffee creations like nut milk made for your coffee, and also even like other healthy, hopefully, beverages in there. So 200 recipes so you guys get started utilizing your Nutramilk. Now the cool thing is the recipes will give you a starting place, some guidelines so you can see kind of the format on how to use the machine, and then of course you can make any nut milk, any combination, and start adding your own ingredients to make some amazing creations. Now aside from that, when you purchase from discountjuicers.com, you will also get a 2-liter carafe, so that when you make your nut milks, you could actually store it in a 2-liter carafe, and then put it sealed in the fridge. And once you make a nut milk, it can last up to 6 days in this storage carafe that you could easily then dispense out on a daily basis. So literally, with just one time a week, you could make enough nut milk for your family for the week, and depending on what nut or seed you're using, in as little as maybe 10 minutes, and have enough nut milk without having to buy the pre-bought nut milk with all the extra artificial flavors, additive sugars, and even natural flavors and preservatives and stabilizers and emulsifiers and all this kind of crazy stuff, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the Nutramilk in a nutshell. And what I want to do next, actually, we're going to make 6 recipes for you guys to show you guys how easy it is to use the Nutramilk. So now I'm all ready and set up to make nut milk in my Nutramilk machine. We'll be making cashew nut milk today. But before I do, actually, I wanted to kind of move this stuff aside and talk to you guys just for a second about how traditionally nut milk is made today. In general, what you do is you take your nuts, you basically soak them overnight, and then the next day you actually drain off the water, and then you actually put the wet nuts into your blender with the extra water, and then you blend it up into a nice, rich, creamy, thick mixture. The next step is you got to take a large bowl, and then you take your nut milk bag and you pour the mixture that you blended up in here into your nut milk bag, right? The step after that is then you seal up this nut milk bag, cinch it tight, and then you're basically going to have the mixture and it's going to be dripping, it's going to be messy, and you're going to take your hand and literally squeeze it and milk the nut milk bag. It's kind of like you're squeezing milk out of a cow or something like that. But the nut milk's, in my opinion, a lot healthier than the cow milks or other animal milks. And then when you're done, then you got all the pulp in there, and then you're going to have to get your nut milk bag clean. And one of the things I hate the most in my kitchen duties and making things in the kitchen is cleaning the nut milk bag. These things are bare to clean. You can see, actually, I still have some nut fibers and particles from the last time I used it, because you can just never really get it fully clean, and then it's kind of dirty and it just gets cruddy over time, and yuck. And then you got your nut milk in the bowl. You got to then pour it into a pitcher, and then you could actually store it in your fridge or whatnot. And then you got all these different parts to clean. You got a bowl, you got a nut milk bag, you got the blender, right? Now, you don't have to do this anymore, right? You don't have to wait overnight to do your nut milk. So you could have nut milk on demand in as low as, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 minutes, right? In the Nutramilk. Because in the Nutramilk machine, it's an all-in-one appliance. You don't have to strain it. You don't have to use a nut milk bag. You just basically put everything in there, you run it, and then basically at the end of the cycle, you dispense all the nut milk into the container you want to store your nut milk in simply and easily. So, wow, that's really cool. So, I think the next thing I want to do is actually we're going to go ahead and make some nut milk for you. So now I'm going to make cashew nut milk in the Nutramilk machine. Now, besides making the cashew nut milk, which actually was requested, and that's why I'm making it today to show one of you guys out there watching how it works with cashews, you can make any nut milk, you know, almonds, pecans, walnuts, pine nuts, hemp seeds, macadamia nuts. And actually in the instruction manual, there'll be a page that looks like this. And this page actually will tell you how to make the nut milks with 2 cups of raw ingredients. And basically you're going to have to make butter first. So you can use actually raw or roasted nuts to make your nut milk or nut butter. And in general, if you're using raw nuts, it's going to take twice as much time, because raw nuts actually tend to have less oil content because oil isn't added when they're roasting it. Plus also when they roast the nuts, actually they get a little bit drier, so they're not as moist, so they turn into butter more quickly than the raw nuts. So yeah, possibilities are endless with this machine. Now I do want to say that I have used other soy/nut milk makers on the markets to date, and my experiences with those machines that they tend to make a very watery nut milk. They don't do so well based on my testing because you could put only a limited amount of nuts in there and a lot of water, and it's just never really that thick. In the Nutramilk, you can choose how much of each ingredient you want. So for example, right, today I'm using 32 ounces of actually coconut water, or you could use filtered water or just tap water. I don't recommend tap water though. And then you use 1 cup of nuts. So that is the ratio, 1 to 4. You could also, you know, make up to 2 quarts of the nut milk. So then you would use 2 cups of nuts to 2 quarts of water. And say you want a little bit thicker, you want a little bit more meaty nut milk that's like nice and rich, right? Then you could, you know, use, instead of 1 cup to 1 quart, you could use 1.5 cups, or you could use 1 cup to basically 3.5 cups of the water. Now, it's important to have minimum quantities when you are processing into nut milk, so you should use minimum of 1 cup of nuts. You shouldn't use any less than that. So, I mean, I think those are some of the basics for you. I guess next, let's go ahead and get some nut milk made already. The first step is we're going to go ahead and press this little button on the top, and we're going to move this little latch arm out of the way. This is the arm that actually drives the wiping blade. Next, we're going to open this guy up, unlock it, and remove the top here. And we're also going to remove the little wiping blade there. And now we're just going to simply put the nuts into the unit, simply and easily. Now, I do want to say that I did measure out my nuts. That's 1 cup of cashews. The cashews were about 5.5 ounces. And, you know, of course, the ounces of nuts vary depending on how they lay in your container. But based on my calculations, that's about $2 worth of cashews. You know, at stores near me, sometimes nuts, different kind of nuts will go on sale for as low as $3.99 a pound. Right now at my local Sprouts Farmers Market, walnuts are on sale for $3.99 a pound. A couple weeks ago they had almonds for $3.99 a pound. So if you do get a NutRimilk, I would encourage you guys to stock up on the nuts when they do go on sale, because at $3.99 a pound or $4 a pound, basically for 32 ounces of nut milk, it's going to cost you $1.33. So that's an incredible price. Next, we're going to go ahead and close this latch arm. It's going to click, and we're almost ready to go. The next step is we're going to turn this on. So on the back here, there's a little raised up on and off switch, and it actually lights up red when it's on. You could see it's going to say 00, and that happens only if the machine is assembled properly. Say, for example, you forgot to put the top down. It's going to say ER on the display screen to let you know that, hey, it's not assembled properly. So we're going to make sure it's assembled properly. It's going to say 0. And the first step, whether you're making a nut milk or a nut butter, you're going to want to hit the butter button. So we're hitting the butter button to let the machine know, hey, we're making a butter. It's going to default to 16 minutes. 16 minutes is the longest time this machine will run straight up, and that is for making something like a hazelnut butter that has a lower fat content and lower water content in the raw hazelnuts. That being said, we don't need to run this for 16 minutes because we are using cashews. They turn into nut butter a lot faster, and that's actually what's on the chart here, telling you guys actually how long it takes. So we're going to basically dial this down with the down arrow, and we're going to go down to 6 minutes. Right? We got it to 6 minutes. The next step is we're going to hit the start button to make our nut butter, which is the first step of making the nut milk. I'm going to hit the start button, and then we're just going to go ahead and let this run for the 6 minutes. And for you guys out there, so you don't have to wait the whole 6 minutes, we're going to show you guys actually a close-up on the bowl and how the nuts are processed in 6 minutes. And this is going to be kind of sped up, so it's going to take a fraction of the time for you, and you guys can enjoy the music. So let's hit the start. Alright, so as you guys can see, it's counted down all the way to 0. And as you guys can see, we got a nice rich nut butter. It ran for 6 minutes. Now let's see, I can't really feel the warmth on the outside of the container. So the next step, if you want to make nut butter, you'd be done. That being said, if you want to make nut butter, they do recommend a minimum of 2 cups of nuts to make your nut butters, not just 1. The tines barely were hitting the bottom to get this turned into a butter. So yeah, I want to use 2 cups for best results. Next, we're going to go ahead and take off this top here, and let's see if I could feel the warmth. It's not that warm. Next, we're going to go ahead and add our liquid. So in this case, you could use filtered water, regular water, or even a juice or something like that if you wanted to. I'm using coconut water today, so we're going to just go ahead and pour in all the coconut water into the base there. We're going to then use our container there under the spigot. We're going to go ahead and then put the lid on. Super simple, super easy. We're going to go ahead and put this little spinning blade down. Sometimes you got to move the top to make it latch into place. Now the next step is you want to do the mixing step. Very important. We're going to go ahead and hit the mix button. It's going to default to 1 minute. That's alright. Then you're going to hit the start button. And I guess we'll just mix it in real time for you guys the first time. As you guys can see, it's running. We'll do the close-up on the shot of the camera for you guys. You can see it's actually running, and now what's happening is the coconut water is mixing with all the cashew butter, and actually it's now being filtered out of the screen. It's very important to let this process go for the entire time, for the whole 1 minute, to make sure it is actually properly mixed. And as you guys can see now, it's actually counting down 33 seconds, 32 seconds ago. We'll just let it keep running to get nice and rich. So you guys can just see we're done with the mixing session. Now the next step is we're going to go ahead and hit the dispense button. It's going to also count to 1. We're going to go ahead and hit the start button. It's going to run once again, but this time we're going to go ahead and open the dispenser here and check this out. Out the dispenser, we are getting some nice and delicious, creamy, in this case, cashew nut milk. what's happening is the machine's running, it's spinning, and on the inside, I don't know if you guys can see that on the close-up camera there, but basically all the liquid from the outer layer is ejecting. It's getting nice and thick now, and on the inside it's still spinning around basically the wettened cashew nut butter, and it's mixing with the water, so now the last stuff coming out is actually the richest and the creamiest, and it's actually going to be quite delicious. So we're just going to go ahead and let this run the full minute until it counts down to 0, and then we're probably going to cut the spigot off because it's probably got as much as it could get, although you could put it on another dispense mode if you want to get every last bit, but it looks like it did actually a fair job dispensing all the delicious cashew nut milk. Now we're going to go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to go ahead and pour a little bit in a little jug here. Look at that, nice, rich, milky consistency. And I'm going to try the nut milk, the cashew nut milk that I made myself in the NutMilk for the first time. Wow, that's amazingly sweet. It tastes like the cashews. There's like no chunks, no bits like you would get if you use like a nut milk bag. And I barely had to do any work, and just literally 8 minutes later, we got this cashew nut milk. You would store this in a sealed container in your fridge, easily lasts for 6 days, up to 6 days. Now, if you did want it to last longer, you can put it in a sealed container in your fridge and then suck the vacuum out of it. In that case, it'll probably last about 10 to 12 days maximum. And make sure every time you open it up, pour some off, you put it back under vacuum inside your fridge. Now, please be aware, this is fresh made nut milk. It has no additives, no stabilizers, nothing like that. This one will separate in your fridge, so don't be alarmed if you go in the next day and, gee, my milk separated, John, it's defective. No, it's not defective. That's what happens because you're not adding any stabilizers. If you didn't want it to separate, you could put some non-GMO sunflower lecithin in there, mix it in there, and then that'll stop the separation. But hey, separation, not a big deal. Shake it up, pour it out, and once you guys taste this nut milk, how thick, creamy, and rich it is, wow, you're not going to be able to stop. I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed. This is one of the best nut milks I've ever tasted. Alright, so when you're done, finished making your nut milks, I actually want to show you guys all the parts it is to clean. First, we're going to go ahead and press this button to pop this up here on the top. The next step is we're going to pop the lid off here. Super simple, super easy. Here's the lid. This basically just will wash off. I do encourage you guys to use a little bit of soap and water on a little dish brush. It'll clean it right up. Next, we got the little wiping blade here. Super simple, super easy to clean up as well. Next, we have this filter cone right here. And as you guys can see, it's dripping. And as you guys can see, the little fine mesh in there that has like little bits of the cashew butter in there. That'll easily rinse off once again, and then scrub that off with the included brush. And then finally, you have the last piece to clean, which is actually the bowl. And just let me show you guys in the bowl there. I mean, this unit was pretty doggone efficient, basically getting all the coconut milk out. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of liquid in there, but I don't see a whole lot of nut pulp in there because it was ground so finely. It was actually put into your nut milk, so that adds the flavor, adds the texture in there. And then, of course, it went through those fine 100 mesh screens, so you got all the flavor and the most benefit of those nuts, and actually the most fattiest and most nut milkiest nut milk ever. So super simple, super easy. I think I'm going to drink half this nut milk because it is so good. But also what I got to do is I got to clean this guy up, and we're going to come back at you. And actually we're going to make a seed milk predominantly next time. Wow, I'm just super impressed how well the Nutramilk worked for my cashew nut milk. Next, I thought I'd try a seed milk for you guys, but I'm trying it a little bit differently. You know, I could do entirely all hemp seeds, but hemp seeds kind of have like a kind of a, not bitter, but kind of a funny flavor. You could do like sesame seeds. That is definitely a bitter flavor. But one of the cool things about the Nutramilk is when you have the machine, you get to choose the ingredients you put in there, and you can use your creativity to make some out-of-this-world nut milk and seed milk recipes. So, for example, what I'm going to use next, actually, we got a combination of hemp seeds here at the bottom, then plus my favorite nuts. These are dehydrated macadamia nuts straight from Hawaii. So I got about a 1/4 cup of the hemp seeds, about 3/4 cup of the macadamia nuts. So we're going to press this button once again, open this baby up, and we're going to go ahead and put this mixture in there. Now I do want to say that, you know, it only took me a few minutes to clean out the machine after I was done. My hemp seeds are sticking in there a little bit, so we're going to make sure we get all the hemp seeds in there, all the delicious goodness. Now the hemp seeds are actually have a fairly good balance of omega-3 to 6 fats in there, essential fats. But what I recommend, especially if you guys are doing almond milks or even other nut milks, I always encourage you guys to add something like the flaxseed. So we got about a tablespoon of flaxseed that we're also going to add in there. And this is very important. You know, if you love the almond milk, you want to add the flax seeds on a regular basis. Not only have flax seeds been researched to help people with breast cancer, for example, they also have a better balance of omega-3 to 6s, or will better balance out your almond milk with more omega-3s, so you don't get too many omega-6s. And I'll just leave it at that. Now the next thing we're going to do to make it interesting is we're going to go ahead and put in some dates. So we have 6 dates here that we're just going to go ahead and put in for some extra sweetness. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and put our wiping blades back in there. And then we're going to go ahead and put our lid on. And then we're going to go ahead and put that down. And now we're going to make butter again. So simply we're going to hit the butter button. This combination with hemp seeds, macadamia nuts, that also is going to take about 6 minutes. We're going to crank that down to 6. We're going to hit the start, and we'll fast forward this up for you guys so you guys don't have to waste all your time. Alright, just shut off, down to 0 from 6 minutes. We put in all those ingredients. Let's go ahead and open it up and take a look at what we got here. It did create some condensation inside, and actually a little bit of steam is coming off, actually. Wow, warmed it all up. Definitely it's warm to the touch. Let me put my finger in there, not burning my finger. And just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and get a little sampling on my finger here. Wow, that's some incredible nut butter, man. It's like macadamia nut, hemp, date. It's actually quite good. Now we could stop here and just save that, you know, and have our own nut butter. But actually I want to turn this into a nut milk. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pour in, once again, 4 cups of coconut water. Put that underneath to catch. We're going to put our blades back in there, our wiping blades. Put our lid back on, make sure it's properly assembled. Close that up, latch that down in place. Then next step is we're just going to go ahead and press the mix button. It goes up to 1, and we're going to hit the start button again. And this time when we hit start, we'll probably just actually do the close-up for you at high speed. You know, since I don't have to talk you guys through it, since you saw that last time, to save you guys some time. And you guys could also see a really good close-up on it mixing. Wow, look at that. In just a minute, it's literally turned that nut butter into a rich, delicious macadamia nut hemp seed nut milk. Next step is we're going to go ahead and hit the dispense button. And next we hit the start button. It's going to start running again. Then we're going to go ahead and open our tap here and check it out, man. That's rich, delicious macadamia nut hemp seed milk coming right out. Oh, I can't wait to try that. You know, as it's dispensing, it's still once again running on the inside. There's the water, thick mixture on the inside running. It's actually forcing it through centrifugal action to come out the 100 mesh screen, in which case it comes to the outer section, and then it actually comes out in the front there. Now this is a little bit thicker mixture, so it's not coming out as easy, and the flow rate has slowed down significantly, but it is still flowing. I guess I suppose in some situations you might want to run the dispense mode twice to make sure you get as much liquid out as possible. Alright, so that turned off after a minute. We're going to go ahead and hit the stop. Close the spout there. We're going to go ahead and hit the dispense again for 1 minute. And when you do the dispense, you can put it up to 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Run it however long you want. It just defaults to the 1 minute, and depending on the recipe you use, like I think because I got some dates in there it's a bit thicker mixture with some, you know, higher fat nuts like the macadamia nuts and the hemp seeds, you know, you may need to run that dispense session longer. We're just going to go ahead and run it for 2 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and hit start, and just let it run some more with the spigot open, and we're just going to run this on high speed for you to see how much more liquid we get out. Right now we're starting at about 3 cups, so there's about a cup of water or coconut water still left in there that hasn't come out yet. Alright, so I ran it for another 2 minutes, and it keeps dispensing the milk there. It's actually coming out actually quite thick at this point. We're going to go ahead and shut it off, and at this point it looks like we got, instead of 3 cups, we got maybe 3 1/3 cups. So I ran another 2 minutes just to get an extra 1/3 a cup out. I suppose the thing to do, I could add more liquid in there to kind of help it along to get more out if I wanted to. But actually I want to take a look and see what's going on the inside there, and show you guys. So we're going to go ahead and take our wiping blades off. They seem to be fairly clean. We take this whole container off. On the inside you guys could see there's still a bunch of liquid on the inner chamber there. And it looks like the maybe the screen in there is kind of getting plugged. So it might be a good thing at this point to take the included cleaning brush and scrub down the screen on there, and then actually put it back on the unit and then run it more. So this may happen depending on the specific mixture you put in. Maybe because I put too many dates, it kind of gummed up the screen a little bit. But yeah. Oh, and the other thing I want to say is when I was cleaning out this last time, all the mixture that actually didn't go through the screen, actually, I poured that into a glass and actually just drank it separately. So I mean, even if it didn't mix it out, you could still drink that. It's not just fibered. Actually, it's actually quite good. Actually, let me go ahead and I'm going to drink that for you guys here. Let me see. Oh my God, it's like a uber thick smoothie. It's like really rich in all the fiber because that's all the parts that actually didn't come through the screen. Totally edible. I mean, some of you guys actually would probably just add it to your nut milk if you wanted a little bit of texture in there for some more fiber. But we're going to taste this separately for you guys. Once again, this is the hemp seed with flax and macadamia nut and dates. Wow. The cashew milk I made earlier was a bit sweeter. But this is like actually more thick, full-bodied, and actually, I mean, it's quite sweet as well because I did add the dates as well as use the coconut water. But yeah, this is another hit in my book. I just got to work on maybe making it a little bit thinner, or maybe I'll just end up drinking that stuff out of there because it's so good. Alright, so now we're going to do actually another kind of milk today. Not a nut milk like we did first, not a seed milk like we kind of did second. We're going to do actually an oat milk. So this is actually just out of rolled oats. For the rolled oat milk, what you're going to do is you're going to actually soak the oats for about 30 minutes to an hour before you do this recipe. So it's been soaking during my filming of this episode. And so the other thing I will say is that, you know, with the Nutramilk, you have the choice of whatever nut or seed to use. Now, I've been using raw, unsoaked nuts, but of course, you know, if you feel you need to soak your nuts to remove enzyme inhibitors and also to start the sprouting and germination process, maybe to lower a little bit of the fat content and make it more alive, you can do that. And in which case, if you do sprout your nuts or soak them first, then you're going to actually run the butter section less time than the times in the instruction manual. And you're just going to have to kind of play with that to find out the right times for you to just make sure it's nice and ground up properly before you add the water and do the mixing step. That being said, because I am doing the oats today, and let's just go ahead and get started. Actually, the soaked oats actually has one of the shortest times to make the nut milk. Actually, the soaked oats actually only take about 1 minute to process. So that's all basically soaked oats in there. So it's 1 cup leveled out oats, and then I just added water over the top to soak them for a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And we're going to go ahead and put the lid back on. Now, I do have to say that, you know, I did test the pre-production model, which is the mock-up version of this. Oops, I forgot to close the spout. Before, you know, getting this unit, and I do have to say that the production unit is a lot higher quality. I guess with that, let's go ahead and hit the butter button, and it says 16. We're going to go ahead and put that all the way down to 1 minute. And we're just going to go ahead and hit the start button, and we'll go ahead and do the close-up on you guys so you guys can see how the oats are processed. Alright, so those oats process nice and easily. Next step is we're going to go ahead and open this baby up, and we're going to add in our water. So we got basically, once again, 32 ounces of water going right in. Now the other thing I do, once again, you are in control of your own recipes. You know, we're going to actually add some salt here. So what we got here, we're just going to put salt to taste, maybe a couple grounds up in there. And I got the Seasons 90 salt here, one of the healthiest salts. If you do choose to use salt, I don't generally like to salt my food additionally. And then now we're also going to add some cinnamon in there. So, you know, we're going to spike this with some antioxidants plus some extra flavor in there for our oat milk. And then we're going to go ahead and close our lid up. We're going to latch that back down into place. Now we're going to hit our mix button simply for 1 minute. And we're going to hit the start button, and we'll give you guys a close-up on the mixing step here. Alright, so that mixed very well, quite well actually. There's actually most of the liquid is actually flung out centrifugally to the outside. That's impressive. Now next we're going to go ahead and hit this dispense button. Goes to 1 minute automatically. Once again, you can adjust that up or down. I think we're only going to need 1 minute for this. We're going to hit the start button, run that again, and we're going to open the dispense tab and check it out. Instantly we got all the fresh, delicious, homemade oat milk. Once again, just oats, soaked, water, a little bit of salt, and the cinnamon for a nice flavor and a higher punch of antioxidants and cooler taste. This nut milk in all, you know, took maybe, to make anyways, about 3 minutes from the time I put it in there to the time it ran to basically butter it up or mix it, and then the mixing step again, and then dispensing it. And it looks like in this case we pretty much got all 32 ounces of the nut milk, or in this case the oat milk, out. So, you know, if you have like nut allergies in your family, hey, make some oat milk, make some rice milk, make some seed milks in this machine. Once again, you guys are in control. Now, because we did add actually soaked oats that were kind of wet to begin with, we actually are exceeding the amount of water that we put in. So that's actually quite impressive. So as you guys can see, it looks like we got like most of the liquid out. Now, for the first time in my life, actually, we're going to go ahead and pour me a glass of this oat milk. I've only read of such things and seen it in stores, but I've never made it for myself, had no desire to. But I did want to show that to you. This is actually a really nice consistency there. It's not like water, it's a bit thicker. And I'm going to try this. I have no idea what it's going to taste like. Wow. That's amazing. It reminds you of eating oatmeal cereal, but like when you eat the oatmeal cereal, you're not eating the oatmeal, but like the residue as the oats was soaking is like the outside that's just still kind of like the liquid. That's what this tastes like. Not bad, not quite as fatty. I mean, it's not quite as delicious as the other nut milks or the seed milk I've made, but definitely it's lower calorie than the nut milks for sure. Yeah, quite interesting. And the NutRimilk machine had no problems making the oat milk. So for the last liquid recipe I'll be making today, besides the nut milks or seed milks or even oat milks or rice milks you can make with the NutRimilk, you could also make smoothies. Now this is a unique smoothie maker in the sense that it actually has that 100 mesh screen in there. So I mean, I know I run into people quite often actually that have diverticulitis and all these things, and they can't eat any seeds, and for some people they don't like to eat seeds anyways. And if you just blend up seeds, you know, you're going to get seeds left in the bottom of your blender. That being said, this unit will also make basically seed-free smoothies and other mixtures for you, other smoothies for you. And, you know, remove all the little fine bits of fiber or pulp, you know, that may not be agreeable for some people. So the recipe I'll be making next actually is just using about 1 heaping cup of frozen blackberries, 1 heaping cup of frozen bananas. So let's go ahead and actually put that in the unit here. Bananas. 1 heaping cup. Alright, get out of there, banana. And then 1 heaping cup of the blackberries. Actually, really nice large seeds. We're going to go ahead and put our mixing tines in there. And then go ahead and put the top on and put that in. And for this first step, we're basically going to mix this up. And that's going to run for about 3 minutes. And then the next stage is we're just going to go ahead and mix it up with actually the cashew milk we made earlier with the coconut water. So we're going to go ahead and put it on the butter stage, even though we're not making butter. We're just processing our frozen ingredients. We're going to crank that on 3, and we're going to hit the start, and we're going to give you guys a close-up on the camera, play some music so you guys can see what's happening. Alright, so that got fully processed after 3 minutes, and it almost looks like we have like an ice cream in there. It basically just ground up all the bananas and the blueberries. And so the next step is simply we're going to add the cashew nut milk. Alright, we'll put that underneath the catch and we'll put the lid back on. And now we're going to go ahead and hit the mix button for 1 minute, and we're going to hit the start button, and we'll do a fast high speed for you guys on this. Wow, so it looks like it's mixed up quite well, and look at that, man, this is totally purple now. That's the purple anthocyanins that are actually quite healthy for you to eat. So I guess next we're going to hit the dispense button for 1 minute, and we're going to hit the start button. And now we're going to open this spigot and check it out, man. Rich, delicious banana, blackberry, cashew nut milk coming right into our glass, nice and purple. And it's doing a nice job dispensing. This looks nice, rich, and creamy. I simply cannot wait to drink it. Alright, after 1 minute, it's basically spun it all out. Looks like we got almost as much as we put in there. I'd probably run it for like maybe 2 minutes to dispense, probably give it more out. But man, I just can't wait to try this. Look at that nice and purple drink. That's quite delicious. I think that's an improvement on the cashew nut milk by adding some of those frozen fruits. Mellows it out a little bit. Not quite as sweet. But it's nice and cold because of the frozen fruits, actually. Almost getting brain freeze here. That'd be really delicious on a hot summer day. And I want to remind you guys, when you have high antioxidant foods such as the blackberries, it's definitely a good idea to eat those blackberries with some fats such as the nut milks to increase the absorption of some of the phytonutrients in those delicious berries. But yeah. Definitely one delicious recipe, and you can do a lot more than just make nut milks or even nut butter like we're going to make next in the NutMilk. So far, so good with the Nutramilk machine. I've been thoroughly impressed on how well it's done thus far. But the last thing and final thing we're going to do, which I've already seen it really do actually, is we're going to go ahead and make nut butter without any kind of like nut milk being made. This is one of my favorite nut butter recipes, actually. So let's go ahead and open this baby up. And so what we'll be processing today are, we got basically 1 cup, and these are actually wild jungle peanuts from South America. They say that these do not have the aflatoxin mold in there. And once again, you could turn these into jungle peanut milk if you so desired. 1 cup. Then we got 1 cup of the macadamia nuts. I really like the macadamia nuts because they have a higher fat content. So we're going to add 1 cup of the macadamia nuts in there. And then also what we're going to add just a little bit of the salt in there for some flavor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hardly anything's coming out on this thing. Spice it up with some antioxidant punch. We got some cinnamon powder in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, good enough. I don't measure anything. And then finally we got the date sugar. Probably should be measuring this stuff out, but you could use the whole dates, but we're just going to use the date sugar today. Non-GMO, vegan certified, and we're going to drop a whole bunch of that stuff in there. Seal that on up. And put our top on. Lock it into place, close this baby up, move this out of the way, and we're going to turn it on to the butter mode. It goes to 16 minutes default. It's not going to take 16 minutes for the Nutramilk to process it in a butter. It's going to take maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes. We'll just put it on 6 just to make sure. And we're going to hit the start, and we'll give you guys a close-up shot on the butter making process of the McNut Wild Jungle Peanut Butter. Alright, so when using the Nutramilk, you are in control. Although I set it for 6 minutes, as you guys can see, it's set down to 3. We're going to just go ahead and hit the stop button, because just after 3 minutes, it was able to turn my macadamia nuts, my jungle peanuts, into a really nice nut butter. And you guys saw the whole process on the close-up. Let's go ahead and take this apart now and show you guys what it looks like here. Take off that top, and I think we're going to take out these arms here that have actually some residual nut butter, chunky style. But down on the bottom, except for like actually one lone McNut that I think was maybe sitting on top of the blade here, we actually have some nice creamy nut butter. I want to go ahead and see if I could pour this out for you guys very carefully and easily. Alright, it's not coming out, but that's what it looks like. And look, we could tip this upside down, and it's just totally not coming out. I mean, that's just nice and thick. So we're going to go ahead and take a spatula here, and look at this. Oh, now it's coming. I just had to spatula it off the sides. Alright, look at that. Nice and runny. Look at that texture coming right out for you guys. Woo! Man, that's some creamy nut butter, man. There's not too many appliances that could do this. I mean, I'm surely a juicer would not make it this rich or creamy. You know, once again, these were raw nuts, no oil added. You know, some machines, you may have to add oil to get a texture like this, but not the Nutramilk machine. It worked great without adding anything, just letting it run only 3 minutes. Totally amazing. I think the secret is in the powerful motor and actually the wipers that really help keep the nuts flowing and down. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get the rest of this in here a little bit later. But before I do, actually, I got to try this nut butter. I'm like so hungry. Alright, so this is really thick and creamy. Let's go ahead and get a smidgen on my hand. Now this is warm. You know, it's not above 118 degrees, but it is warm. Man. That's some of the best nut butter I've made. I usually generally make this recipe in like a NutriBullet, but definitely the Nutramilk blew away the NutriBullet in making this nut butter. It made it a lot more creamy and a lot more tasty and delicious, in my opinion. Wow, amazing stuff. So I think that's pretty much the end of this episode, actually. I can't show you guys any more recipes. I mean, this episode has taken me in excess of 2 hours to film already, and I've run through a whole lot of things. I want to go ahead and share with you guys my comments, suggestions, and review about the Nutramilk. Alright, so number one, I could feel this motor base. It's a little bit warm. It's not super hot, and when I first ran it for the first time, there was like that, you know, the motor smell, you know, because it was a brand new motor, you know, it has that motor burn-in smell. And, you know, that's completely normal after a few uses. It went away, although I think, oh, I still smell it a little bit, but over time that's going to totally dissipate, so don't be concerned if you smell that. I do want to say that I definitely thought the Nutramilk was excellent at what it was designed to do, to make the nut milks. You know, when I did a standard nut milk, that cashew nut milk, the first one I did, I was super impressed on actually how little residue was left in the chamber. It seemed to eject most of the nut milk. The next nut milk I made was a little bit more difficult, maybe because of the flax seeds or the dates that I had in there. That didn't extract as easy, but I'm confident by maybe adding a little bit more water and letting it run a little bit longer, or maybe by brushing down the holes on the 100 mesh screen, that would allow more of the milk to come out. That being said, I did drink whatever came out of there, and you know, it was still broken down. It was a little bit chunky, but good to eat nonetheless. Many of you guys should probably be eating it. You could use that for other recipes or things. It's not like when you use a nut milk bag and you get that super dry pulp. This pulp is actually still good because there is some still moisture content, because there's no mechanical action like squeezing every last bit out. But nonetheless, the nut milk tastes really excellent. This by far is the easiest one-step machine I've ever found in all my journeys, all my travels, all the trade shows I've ever visited to make the NutMilk. So if you want to do that quickly and easily, this would definitely be the machine for you. I mean, look, I made the oat milk in just a total of 3 minutes running the machine. 1 minute to basically butter it up, 1 minute to mix it up, and then 1 minute to dispense it, and it was completely all done. Of course, I did soak the oats for about 30 minutes previous. So yeah, worked really good on that. I mean, the other NutMilks work really great. Of course, that smoothie was amazing. Seed-free smoothie. So you know, because it has the holes in the screen there, it basically took out all the large chunks. When I cleaned that out, there's all these big seed fragments that actually didn't make it into my smoothie that had a nice clean texture in there. So that was really good. And of course, the nut butter, simply amazing. I mean, this consistency is totally amazing. I mean, it is truly like one of the nut butters you'd buy at the store, like fully broken down, nice oil content. Once again, you know, depending on the nut you're going to use, it may take you up to 16 minutes on raw hazelnuts, which tend to be the longest, but most nuts might butter up in as low as, I don't know, 6 to 8 minutes, and sometimes it's even going to run less, like I did today, and you could stop it, you know, before the full time cycle has been up. You know, the motor is quite powerful. It never shut off once. I did have a problem once when I was actually processing the frozen fruits. I processed the frozen fruits, and on the initial turn on, some of the fruits actually came up and hit the top, and then this thing actually blew up out of the way, and then it turned off. So then actually, one of the times I actually had to hold it down until it did the initial processing of the big chunks of frozen fruit into smaller pieces, and then it ran completely fine. I do have to say that I got one of the pre-release versions of this machine, so hopefully they have taken care of that in the you know, model that is now hitting the stores or now available at discountjuicers.com. Let's see. Aside from that, it worked beautifully. I would expect nothing less. I mean, they did take you know, like 3 years. This was in 3 years in development, and finally has come to market. While I do think it is a tad bit expensive for what it is, because the target price was a little bit less, you know, this is, once again, commercial quality with the BPA-free plastics, NSF certification, and built to commercial UL standards. So I'm sure it will last many years to come if it is made, you know, literally for heavy-duty commercial use. I hope more coffee shops and, you know, restaurants that serve coffee could make this and make, you know, plant-based nut milks, just give people an alternative to the dairy milks that are out there that, in my opinion, are not as healthy for you. And I'm glad that this is here, so now people can get more nut milks and even oat milks and rice milks into their body, and more importantly, make their own nut butters without all these hydrogenated oils and preservatives and all the nasty things they add. You know, I'll tell you guys first off that I've been a kitchen gadget freak since I was like a kid. I had all these cool kitchen donut makers and potato chip makers as a kid, and now, you know, I'm an adult and I have these really cool, you know, adult toys to play in the kitchen. I mean, do you really need a Nutramilk? I mean, if you guys hate making nut milks and you make nut milks often, if you make nut milks like once a month, you know, hey, keep doing your same old method. But if you make nut milks often and you're trying to incorporate nut milks into you and your family's diet to get off the cow milk so you could stop having as much mucus and lead a healthier lifestyle, this would be definitely the machine for you. It definitely makes it a breeze. You know, I dread making nut milk to this day because it's like such a process and takes so long. Squeezing out the bag, just a pain. This makes it super simple, super easy, and also you could do many other features as well. So I think that's great. Now, there are some things I think can be improved. I always tell it like it is. I'll tell you guys like it is. Hopefully the manufacturers are watching this. You know, some things to be improved. I did mention a few of them earlier. Number one, you know, include an extra spigot with the package. Also include a blank, you know, so like in this case, I don't have to wash the spigot. I'm making nut butter. I'm not getting anything in the outer chamber. It could just be a stopper that just goes in there, so there's no chambers or anything extra to clean. Other thing I would recommend, you know, on this piece here, let's see if I can pull this out because it's stuck with all the nut butter in there pretty good. Ugh. Yeah, on this piece here, I would encourage you guys to make another version actually with no screen. So like when you are making only nut butters, some of the nut butter actually started to come through the holes of the screen, which isn't a great consequence. But it would be nice if it just had, like, you know, solid with no holes in there. You could just do this by putting a solid stainless steel piece in there, you know, without the holes. The other thing I think that should be done on this machine to make it even better is to actually have screen mesh with different size holes. You know, this is a 100 mesh. Maybe have like a mesh that's a little bit larger and then even a lot larger for those people that actually want to get different textures in their nut milk, because maybe some people don't want it super fine, and you know, running a piece with a little bit bigger screen probably wouldn't be too big of an issue. But you could offer that as an upgrade package so people could have further flexibility, like to make smoothies with, you know, that'll drain out easier, or in the case that I made the second nut milk that actually had some stuff, it had it stuck up because I think some of the holes got clogged. I think that would prevent that issue from occurring. I think the motor base is great, nice and heavy duty. I do wish the warranty was longer, but I understand that because this is for commercial use, you know, you don't want to give a long warranty for commercial users because they definitely abuse their machines. But I'm confident if you guys use it in the home, it should last for many years. I'm quite happy with it. This is a machine I will use quite often because it literally just makes making nut milks a lot easier. So I'm probably going to do it more now. That being said, I need to give my honest opinion. I do believe, and I would rather drink fresh juices, especially vegetable juices, you know, over the nut milks, as healthy as nut milks are. You know, the fresh vegetable juices, because the problem is most people don't eat enough leafy green vegetables as well as other vegetables, but you know, most people tend to eat plenty of nuts. And you know, my goal every day is to eat no more than a handful or two of nuts, and by simply, you know, consuming one of the nut milks I made today, it's actually quite rich. And that's why you might want to water it down. My girlfriend actually had some a little bit earlier, and she's like, wow, this is quite rich. So then you could even water it down more and even save yourself more money, you know, and because it's not actually as thick, or you're going to use actually a little bit less nuts. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The Nutramilk, I would, you know, say, hey, buy it if you make a lot of nut milks. It's going to make your life so much simpler. If you're trying to go plant-based, it's definitely going to be a staple item in your kitchen to get you guys off the cow milks, off any kind of dairy milks. And I mean, even future uses of this is like fermenting your nut milks into probiotic cultures and stuff. I mean, there's a whole list of things that you could do with this machine that I haven't even explored yet. I just got this guy. This is the first time I used it on the video for you guys, so I'm looking forward to playing with this more as I think of new ideas. I'm going to try stuff, and I'll be making videos for you guys. Now, what I want to say next is actually I want to encourage you guys, if you are considering buying a Nutramilk machine, I would encourage you guys to buy it from me at discountjuicers.com. I'll put a link down below in the description so you guys could learn more about the Nutramilk machine at our website, as well as purchase it. You know, I invested at least 2 to 3 hours today to make this video for you guys, to educate you guys about the machine. Nobody else that I knows of makes these in-depth videos to review machines, so you guys could actually see how machines work in the real world. Because I know a lot of manufacturers might make a little 30-second, 1-minute sound clip, or you know, a clip on how their machine works and super sped up. But I showed you guys the ins and outs, the pros and cons, and actually in detail how this machine works. And hopefully you guys appreciate that, you know. So yeah, check down below to buy the Nutramilk machine. I would thank you guys, for those of you guys in advance, for those of you guys that will purchase this unit or a juicer or blender or dehydrator from me. And I want to thank you guys for those of you guys that have purchased from me in the past, so I could continue my work making this educational video as well as many others on YouTube. So I thank you guys. Also be sure to use the coupon code PLANTMILK, PLANTMILK, for a $20 discount on the Nutramilk machine should you buy it from discountjuicers.com. And don't forget, when you buy the Nutramilk machine from discountjuicers.com, you not only will get that 200 recipe Nutramilk book with you know, things like nut milks, butters, things like smoothies, acai bowls. Also had dips and spreads in there. But you'll also get a 2-liter carafe. You could store your nut milks in your fridge for up to 6 days. So with that, I think that's the end of this episode. My name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. If you guys enjoy this episode, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. That'll encourage me to do more videos of the Nutramilk in the future. Also, put your comments and suggestions and questions down below if you have any things you'd like me to try in the Nutramilk, or any questions I might be able to answer for you guys to help you guys out with your purchase or learn something that I didn't mention in this episode. Also, be sure to share this video with somebody else that's getting into a plant-based or is already into a plant-based diet and wants to make nut milks the easy way. This is the easiest way that I definitely found so far. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on any of my new and upcoming episodes that are coming out about every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what new product or appliance I'll be testing or reviewing for you guys. And I'll give you guys a special hint. The next video out will be on the new Kuvings vacuum blender SV500. That will be the next video out. I'm working on that actually probably tomorrow, but it's probably going to come out another 5 to 7 days after this video is released. So click subscribe and you'll be notified of that episode. Also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes, over 500 episodes at this time, teaching you guys all about the different appliances that allow you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables as well as other plant-based foods so you guys can be healthier. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.